some of the darkest chapters of its history. Canada fait face à l'un des chapitres les plus sombres de son histoire. The forced assimilation of Aboriginal peoples that was carried out through the residential school system, a system sadly older than the Federation itself. Schools aim at taking the Indian out of the child, eradicating Aboriginal identity. Schools build on the removal of children from their families and communities. Schools designed to rip out of children their Aboriginal identity, culture, beliefs, and language. Le système qui a mené au pire. Government policy destroyed the fabric of family in First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities. Parents and children were made to feel worthless. Parents and grandparents were given no choice. Their children were stolen from them. Seulement aujourd'hui, commençons-nous à mesurer le prix terrible de ces mauvaises politiques. Today, we live in a reality created by the residential school system. A present that is haunted by this tragic and painful heritage from those First Nations, Métis and Inuit children, for their families and their communities. A dark and painful heritage that all Canadians must accept as a part of our history. For too long, Canadian government shows denial over truth, and when confronted with the weight of truth, chose silence. For too long, Canadian governments refuses to acknowledge their direct role in creating the residential school system and perpetuating their dark and insidious goal of wiping out Aboriginal identity and culture. For too long, Canadian governments chose to ignore the consequences of this tragedy instead of trying to understand them so that the suffering of First Nations, Métis and Inuit communities continues to this day. Let me quote the damning verdict of the 1996 Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples. With very few exceptions, neither senior departmental officials, nor churchmen, nor members of parliament raised their voices against the assumption that underlay the residential school system or its abused character. And of course, the memory did not and has not faded. It has persisted, festered, and become a sorrowful monument. Today, Mr. Speaker, we lay the first stone in building a new monument. A monument dedicated to truth, reconciliation and healing. La première pierre que l'on doit poser pour ce monument, pour la vérité, la réconciliation et un avenir meilleur. Today, we, representatives of the Canadian people, apologize to those who survived residential schools and to those who died as a result of the laws enacted by previous governments and parliaments. And by speaking directly to survivors and victims today on the floor in the House of Commons, we apologize to those who died waiting for these words to be spoken and these wrongs acknowledged. Successive Canadian governments and various churches were complicit in the mental, physical and sexual abuse of thousands of Aboriginal children through the residential school system. As the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, a party that was in government for more than 70 years in the 20th century, I acknowledge our role and our shared responsibility in this tragedy. I am deeply sorry.